Here we go. So the past several weeks, we've been talking about Shavuot and counting of the weeks and stuff like that. So tonight, I was hoping that we could have some codes to talk about, and I see that we do. So that's going to work out great. I did find one today, as I was telling you before I started recording, and I'll just show you what I have on that a little later. It's the rise of the machines based on the AI stuff. Um, who wants to go first? Margie, you want to go first? I think you had a few things to share, right? Or a few slides at least. You should be able to share now. There you go. And if you're talking, we cannot hear you. You are muted. You're still muted.
Can you hear me now?
Now we can. Yes, yes,
Can you see the class presentation of the code?
we can. Yeah,
You can?
we can. Yes, ma'am.
You can? Oh, good, good.
Can.
Okay. This is a class presentation of You Crucified Me. Oh my goodness, I'm wondering if I did. I got your names on there up here. Scott Bennell's on the top. He's in so many of my codes. Sorry, Scott. Yeah. And that's my two names, two nicknames. And on the bottom is your name. Uh, and so since you don't normally use this software, I don't know, maybe in the future it might be something interesting. Um,
You mean Keys to the Bible?
yes.
Yeah, I used to have that, but not on this computer.
Okay. Well, on the left side of the code, I have Messiah here, and I will die in the blue or near overlapping it, I think. Salvation's in the future in the same line, and then will be offered is in the orange, and it overlaps the salvation a little bit. Pure, I think pure's up here. Can you see my cursor?
I was having an issue look at finding that actually. Move it
Can you see
around.
my cursor
I,
when
I
I
I
share?
I don't see it. Do you guys see her cursor?
Yes or no?
Can,
I can't see it.
yeah, I don't
No,
see it either.
For some reason, the cursor didn't look like a point. And I'm like, oh no. Did you want me to try? I'll try to present this code in just a bit. I'm going to try to get a different cursor, okay?
Okay. All right.
So
So
I'll
you,
stop sharing and I don't know how I'm going to do that.
all right. I did it for you.
We'll find out.
Yeah, Leana, you want to bring up what you were talking about for a moment?
I sure will. Can you see the screen?
Yeah.
Okay. This is the report. It's on Shavuot. And an interesting fact about my searching was that in the book of Acts, I found 30 different between them. I've got here, I hope you can see my cursor.
I'm
Shavuot
not
is
able
the
to see
weeks.
anything. Are you guys able to see the code table?
We see a table, but there's a single line of code.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
And we see your term arms on the one side and the darling, please. The start and the end and all the R factor and all that, but the code
It's a
itself is
report.
just a single blue line.
Okay,
And I do see your cursor.
okay, let me try to. Now, can you see the matrix by any chance?
No, I still see the report.
No.
Okay,
All right, stop.
okay, I'm going to stop share and start again.
Arthur, can you help me, please?
Say again.
Mhm.
I think that was Margie.
Who
Oh,
is
I'm
she?
sorry.
All right, you should be able to share.
I've tried to share that again.
All right, so we're
And
seeing
I'm
the
wondering
report.
if you. Okay, that's you. Can you see the whole thing?
Just a report. Yeah, the report.
Okay. Feast of Weeks. It's in there twice. And of course, we know. Are you being able to follow me?
Yeah, we can see
We
we can see
know
your
that
report.
even everybody.
Go ahead.
Too busy and too sick to be able to spend the time to annotate it. So I'm just going to share this part. Okay.
Okay, my internet keeps dropping out. So what do we
have Sabbaths, seven Sabbaths, and
okay.
then what we're knowing by the book of Leviticus 23 is that you also add 50 days. And Jonathan, I have believed that you were being led by the Spirit on the fact that the secret is in the wheat. So
Right.
I put that in the code. It's there. And it talks, the code has count in it, a hidden count. The book of Acts, chapter 2, verse 17. I'll read that to you. And it's on, which is right up here at the top. It's in there twice. 7 Sabbaths is in there. And I was telling everybody that we're all in agreement. The Jews, the Christians, the Messianic people, that there's 50 days. 7 Sabbaths would be 49, and then the next day would be 50. So we're all in agreement with that. And I don't push any of this on anybody. It's the way I go about what I believe. But plus is in there 50, which I told Jonathan last week. I figured this form of days is a Yoma'im. And what I was saying just before Jonathan left was that he had said, I really think the secret is in the wheat and in the harvest. And how your spirit sometimes doesn't really agree with what someone says, but sometimes your spirit bears witness with the spirit of someone else. And my spirit bore witness with. Okay, so like maybe Jonathan is back. I'm not really sure. I don't see him
I'm
yet.
back. It just keeps dropping out for me, you guys, and that's going to make for a horrible record.
Okay, well,
There's nothing I can't directly plug into the ether with this. It's Wi-Fi, so it's dropping. Sometimes it's like that at night where the internet is not as strong, and I think it's because we're in an apartment building and everybody's draining. I don't know what it is, but sometimes it's better than others. Anyway, hoping with a new computer, it's going to solve all that kind of stuff.
Well, hey, Jonathan, can you see my
I can see
Margie
your
missed
report.
it, so
Yeah.
okay, good. What I was saying, which I would like for you to hear, because you, my spirit bore witness with your spirit when you were talking about that there's a secret in the wheat and that it is hidden count, and that because we know by looking in Leviticus 23 that it says count 7 Sabbaths complete, and on the morrow then count 50 days.
Right.
So, and I have, I was telling the brothers and sisters here, the other students, that sometimes your spirit bears witness with someone,
Right.
and sometimes you get a check in your spirit, and I did. So I did these codes, and it's confirming big time in the book of Acts and the book of Mark. But this particular code is in the book of in the book of Acts. And I got to in the wheat, and that there's secret count hidden. Jonathan, you're in there. I'm in there. I took me out because the code finder is really bad about jumbling everything up where you can't hardly follow it. Unlike keys to the Bible, where you can choose where you put, because it gives you choices. If the word is in there 80 times, it gives you 80 different choices as to where to put it.
Yeah.
But in Code Finder, you cannot do that. So, but anyway, continuing, wheat. And then the other day you were talking about Tish B'Av. And the other day I added mourning in there and Jews in there and the spirit there. So I want to leave the report, and I don't know if I can just exit out. I'm going to try.
Acts 2:17 is what you got running through the middle?
Yes.
Interesting. Yeah. Very interesting.
Okay. Now what I'm going to do is stumble through this a little bit because I haven't got it annotated, but down here at the bottom is Acts 2. Over here, let's see. Okay. Can you see the matrix page?
We can. Yeah.
Okay, because I had a note that it wasn't showing. Right over here, it says, but this was what was spoken by Joel the prophet.
Wow.
It shall be in the last days, saith Yahuwah, that I will pour my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons shall prophesy, and your daughters and your young men shall see visions, and your old men shall dream dreams. And there's much more to that, but I didn't get that written down yet. So I'll just go on to the next thing. This is Shavuot, right here in the middle in the red. We also have Shavuot over here. Feast of Weeks, crossing this way. They don't cross, but they do cross Jonathan. And I was in here, to me, what I'm trying to do is encourage you, my brother, because right over here, over this verse about the spirit, this is in the wheat.
In the wheat.
In the wheat.
Isn't that cool?
It shares the yod in this verse right here. And I've got the spirit right here. And I'm hoping I can remember everything I have. This is an anomaly, your abacus effect that you've talked about for years.
Right.
This is going in this direction. That is Yehudim, the Jews. Okay? Right on that same line is the word mourning.
Interesting.
Yes, and the verse right here. You remember when Saul was a very devout Pharisee, and he was going around and uh, arresting people and standing there and gathering the clothes while they stone Saul. I mean,
Right.
while they see them. Well, see, it says right here, Saul was still full of threats and deadly hatred against the disciples of our, it says Lord, but Yeshua. And down further on this same verse, and he requested that a letter from the high priest might be given him unto Damascus to the synagogues, that if he should find persons pursuing this course, in other words, the course of Yeshua, men or women, he might bind and bring them to Jerusalem. My premise for that, putting that verse in there along with the Yahudim and mourning, is that they rejected the Father's plan for his Messiah to,
Yep.
and I'm not mad at them. I think they were blinded on purpose.
Yep.
And I know that one day they will come to the knowledge of who they have pierced. And but this whole holiday is supposed to be rejoicing, and they are mourning, just like you said in Amos 5. I mean 8. Is it 8:5 or 5:8?
Amos 8.
Where
Yeah.
Amos 8, where he shows him a basket of fruit, which is like a fruit harvest. And
Yeah.
then he says, I'm going to turn your festivals into mourning. And that inspired me even more. That's why I added that to this. But in here we have, and now I'm going to try to find things because I'm not really sure. I think this is 50 days or 50. It goes across through here and ends over here. And then we have the long form of days, Yoma'im. We got wheat right here going up like this. And this is where I'm a little bit bumfuzzled because I can't remember what I put. But let's see. We have 7, and then that's 7, and then Sabbath. Anyway, it says in here to add plus, says plus, going right in the middle of Shavuot, plus and then 50, plus 50, and then I already showed you the days. And it's just another confirmation. I don't think I'm going to say any more, but it's a confirmation. And what I will do is I will annotate this when I'm not running around back and forth to doctors and getting scans and doing all this stuff and being so tired. I will annotate it. That way I can do a better presentation. But I just wanted you to be encouraged. And I'm excited. I think I got like 5 little weeks that came up.
Mhm.
5. I tried to plant a whole bed, but I waited too long. But I'm looking forward to celebrating Shavuot on Shavuot. And I hope some people can be encouraged and excited about the festival of, of the harvest, that I don't know any other way to say it, but that's what it basically is. So,
Amen.
okay. So I am finished. I'm going to stop sharing, and thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, sister. Very good. Very good. Yeah, and it's been kind of hard to get people to see this because we've been brought up and indoctrinized with the 50-day thing. So the secret is in the wheat and it is in the new wine. You probably can find new wine in there too, by the way. All right, so back to Margie.
Jonathan, new wine was in there. It is in there. I forgot to show it to you.
Okay.
Okay, it's in there.
Very good. All right, so we are looking at Messiah codes here about the crucifixion. Is that what we're looking at? You may be muted, Margie.
Oh, sorry.
There you
Yeah,
go.
I had to Now let's see if I can get you to, oh dear, get my share up here. Okay, I have one that's, I don't, oh, good. I can see it.
Yeah,
Okay,
we can see that now. Yeah.
this is Messiah. It's, you crucified me is the access term. It's, in the middle of the code right here. I don't know why it disappears on that one, but at least it doesn't disappear here. There's Messiah. And boy, I should probably look at that. I'm sorry, I have all these notebooks. And I don't know which one that was. Sorry. This is salvation in the orange. No, salvation will be, will be offered in the orange. In the pink right here, the trapezoids, you can only see a couple of them. I think it goes through here, from here to here. That's salvation. And
how is that spelled? Salvation is going to be Yeshua's
IN,
name. Yeah, unless there's another way of spelling spelling.
I
IN,
believe
there's Redeemer in there.
Okay,
There's
all right.
if you begin with the Yud, I think it's, from here to here, it's Messiah. If you begin with the Yud and the blue, let me see.
Okay,
I
so what
think
I see
it's
is you got several
Yeshua.
terms that are interlocking in there. I see now. What you got
I'm
several
sorry.
things that
No, it's not Yeshua there. It's Redeemer. You have salvation. I'm not looking at my notes. I'm sorry. But from here, it is Savior. I think it's Savior through here, but I didn't put that in the code. It's like I just thought that there was too many terms in through here, and so I thought Messiah was enough, and then salvation and is through here, and will be offered is here, and pure is here. Over here, all this, and I think it's this as well, is oh, what's that pink? A spear. It's spear. They were talking about a spear of fire, and I did not know what that is, but they have spear here. I don't, it could be that is Pierce as well. There's a couple different layers, even just to this Yeshua's code. There's two very clear layers, and this is just one. One is the reasons why he died, our sins underneath here as well. um, Moon is in these fuchsia square things. Perfect is here, vertical, like blue. Yeshua's in blue vertical. Wait, is that here? Hold on, I have to pronounce it. No, there's a blue. Yeshua is, oh, here it is. Right here. Yeshua. And kinsman's right up here. And as a lamb is the pink horizontal right as a lamb. I have king in the blue square, and you'll see it again and again. amazing is going, it's at a, I saw other things that meant amazing, miracle. I didn't put them in because they were skipped through there. And uh here vertical, we have a couple different terms. In the blue, there's kosher, and qualification includes that alpha, and then approved is in purple, but you can't see it. You can find how to spell it later. I mean, in my um uh vertical by this is arisen. Here is the part where Jehovah gave a sign. Has angel here, has moon here, it has miracle here. On the other side, the code, right on top, the Lord is in heaven. Death is here. Of course, it has your name right here, Scott Bennell's name, which he likes to come inside my codes and say hi. I am is here and here, and there's somewhere else in the code where it is. King is in the purple squares again here. The Lord said, I am the one who sent you. It's I'm wondering, is it here? But it shouldn't be here. No, this is the greatest man in the world. This right here is Jehovah and the Holy One. Oh, here it is. I am the one that sent you. Yeshua is right here. Vertical blue.
Yep.
We have another perfect here. No, is that spear? Is that perfect? Okay.
Yeah, it looks perfect. Well,
And
it's
from
oval.
Jehovah is here and here. Angels here. And of course, this is the access term, you crucified me. And darkness is here. There's another layer that is about the various sins. There's a volcanic layer, and there's also a message to America and the United States in here. And that's another layer. But I was excited. You wouldn't believe how long it just took me to extract these simple things in one layer. It's crazy. But so I have I don't know if other people are going to want to look at it online and see some of the main terms in the so again. Anyway, and maybe after class, if you want, Scott, you can give me a way so I can get codes to you. Anyway, with your name on them. Thanks.
Sure, I would really like that. Thank you,
that.
sister.
Okay, what do I do?
Are you done?
How do I stop
Is
share?
that I can
No,
okay.
no, I am done and I'm trying to stop share. Thanks.
Stop. Okay. Stop share. Here it goes. Well, yeah, see, this is one of the reasons why I want to get us on a web page instead of using stuff like Zoom. It's kind of awkward and fumbly. And using Discord, we can't really share some of the stuff that we have over there. publicly because we have to let everybody into Discord, but on our own site, we could still maintain our school, kind of shielded from everything, but also share things on different pages of the website that people could access. So eventually we will get to that point. Paula, do you want to share what you're working on and just kind of, or no, not at all?
What I can probably feel comfortable doing is just show you, whet your appetite on the surface,
Okay.
and then when I get my stuff together, I can dig into it. I'm not going to be with you next Sunday. I'll be in San Diego on
Okay.
a little vacation, so it would be a couple of weeks.
All right.
Let me just whet your appetite, because Scott's here. What I was doing, I was coming up with ideas. Oh my goodness. It's not even working.
You won't share? You trying to share?
Okay, here we go. I pulled out my old Bible code book, from Michael Drosnin, and he was working with Eliyahu Rips. Is that how you say it?
Right. Yeah.
And they were on this wild goose chase about the code key, the code key being some obelisk at the Dead Sea. And I was thinking that was kind of ridiculous, really. Because as far as I'm concerned, it's all about the Spirit, the Holy Spirit
Right.
in us. And so I just put in the code key, and it came up one time in the Tanakh. So your code key right here.
Yeah. So it literally spans the whole Bible, and you see that huge margin under there. That's
It's funny you said that.
Yeah.
The code key. Now watch. Now it's your code key.
Oh wow.
And it spans the whole Tanakh. And that just knocked me over, blew me over. It just dawned on me one evening. Something inside me said, hey, click on those last two letters up top and see what happens. And
Yep.
so your code key and the underlying things here, that might be the name of the new code that's being developed.
Right. The code program,
code key.
as far as the code key.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a good idea. Yeah, and we might play
it's
around
only
with that too, and all vote on. We'll come up with a handful of names and vote on it.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
It's only can you see this?
Yeah.
I switched screens.
No, well, we still see the same thing.
Oh, okay, so I have to stop share.
Stop sharing, yeah. Yeah, see, it won't let you it would be so much cooler if you could just click on whatever you wanted to instead of stop share and then share.
Right.
It doesn't flow good.
Okay, how about that?
And see it, and then it has to render when you do that. And so it kind of there it goes. Now we can see.
Now you can see a new one. Okay.
Oh wow,
this layer here is kind of it's for me and Jonathan specifically. Basically, it's message and then black from Yahuwah all in one line right there.
Oh wow.
So message from Yahuwah, the truth. I'm just gonna, like I said, touch on things, but it's
and you didn't even bother to put a road skip on it. You working it just like that. Which is fine. That is fine to do, but
that's funny.
It's fine to do that, you guys. These are a little bit harder because you see how much you're basically working. Okay, so remember the Yeshua is my name code at Ramsel. and it's up and down and it's like that. It's very
Yes.
right. So
Yep.
this is the
Yeah.
reverse of that. This is the other way. So you're working on a very large cylinder, but the same amount of kind of text, if that makes sense. Right. So this is a
Yeah.
really, even though it's on a fat cylinder, it's a condensed window of one
Yeah.
side of that cylinder that spans the whole Bible. So
Right.
yeah.
And
So
I actually did do a row skip. That'll be part of my presentation.
very good.
Because
Yeah.
it opens it up into a full matrix, and you can find lots of cool
Right.
stuff.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, just to whet your appetite, in the green here, it's letter, and then in the red is cipher, and then my name Paul, and this is key.
Yeah, I see oat.
Um,
I see oat in there. Sign, signal. I see. Yeah, I
yeah,
see all of that. All
it's
kind of
also like
clustered there.
letter, like the letter in the alphabet. Um, so I'll just move on to quickly show. See, this one here is where I had the row skip. So that opens up a lot of stuff with my
Oh wow.
name, Hollowell going straight across, and lots of good things like that.
So you have put a
And
lot of work into this already.
oh wow, probably 40 or 50 hours.
Very
I have
good. You
like
can tell.
three
Yeah,
la
you can have.
three layers, and then this layer here is the one where I have it's like three. This is about the new code. It's like code, cube, terms, through, and then we have three dimensional text. Good things like that I want to show you.
Ideas that we're
And
going to try
here's
to incorporate, by the way,
yeah,
because
right. And there's oh,
yeah,
I'm sorry.
no, I'm just you said cube, and people might be like cube. The rabbis were working on a cubed code, so we're looking at this on
Mhm.
a theoretical cylinder, but in a two-dimensional form. What the rabbi supposedly was working on before he died, Rips, was some way to interact
Right,
with it on a 3D scale like a cube,
right,
looking at all sides. I
right.
don't know the premise and or how it works, but I knew it was very complex. But
We also have Google Voice Assist here. We have Google in the gray uh, horizontally through here, and voice running
voice
straight
assist, and see that's what
right
I
in
was
there.
trying to say when I was talking about AI prompts,
Assist, yeah,
having a voice
right.
assist that you can sort of like Siri kind of thing.
hmm hmm And right here, voice is in red, and terms right here, voice terms, assist,
There you go.
assist, assist, yeah, voice. So that's just a little wet for your appetite. I'll delve into it much more when I get my
Oh, cool.
notes together. All right. Okay, I'll stop share.
Anybody
Okay.
else? I know you're just getting your program back, Scott. Did you lose the code finder? So when you lost your computer, did you lose the code finder?
No, I've got my code finder back up on the thumb drive, and I was able to get TorahSoft off my old laptop last night. Can put it on the thumb drive, bring the thumb drive over to the Dell, and I mean, when I opened up TorahSoft and ran the term, it kept crashing. So I had to go into the settings and tweak the settings, and it took a couple hours, but I finally got it to work. But I mean, I do
That's the
have a
thing,
code
man. You
share.
with the updated, you know, version 10 and 11 of Microsoft,
Yeah,
25-year-old software doesn't really like it, and so it does crash out a little bit. It's glitchy, and that's why we're working to try to get us something new,
right.
and more up to date with technology. With like we were just talking about with the AI assistant stuff. So I know I haven't been
Right.
talking about it a lot publicly, but that will change at some point because we're going to have to do some like crowdfunding or something to get it done. It's considerable cost. Even with AI assistance,
Yeah.
there's a team of three that are working on this. So that's man hours, right? And then then what we're trying to accomplish with having our own servers, um, hosted our web page and all that kind of stuff and operate from that brand new computer. It's the whole package is what we're shooting for. And in doing that, like I said before I started class, I would like to have like a lottery to where I can give back to the community and have like 10 spots that I can donate for people. We'll do like a drawing. First we'll get a pool and then we'll draw from that and then let y'all decide who those people are. And yeah, we'll see how that. I'm really excited about this, you guys, and that's why with some of you that
I
have.
don't understand the lottery.
You don't what?
I don't understand the lottery. So you're only going to have 10 students or something?
No, 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 no. So did you come in late? Was you here from the start?
Yes, but I didn't understand it then either.
Okay, so we have 50 spots for students. Okay. 10 will be donated. I will have, we'll get 10 students from y'all. The other, we'll fill in. You guys are grandfathered in. You're not don't have to worry about that. You'll just be grandfathered in. Okay, so everybody that's still in the class, even if they're not paying, if you're still in the Discord and you're still there and you're still learning, you're part of the school. All of us are having issues with monies and stuff like that. So I've had students that had to pause their payment, and I asked them just to stay, that it's okay. Y'all will provide. And he always does in some kind of way. I'll get a random donation here or there that'll help me, get to the month. Or he'll bless me in other ways, like give me a business idea. Like uh, I've had a lot of those in the past couple of months that I'm trying to work on. And I got my bees back going. I just got a new swarm a couple of days ago. Well, it's been in the box about 2 weeks. I can tell from the growth of the comb, but I've only known about it a couple of days, and so I'm going tomorrow to secure that, get them into a box that I can manage, and got some freebies. Y'all's blessing. So yeah,
So I still have a question. So
yeah.
you are only going to allow them to use the software if you're in their class, in your class. So you aren't
Well,
going to sell the software.
I wasn't planning on selling. My idea was designing software and building a school around it. And teach people how to use it responsibly. It'd be like me being a gun maker and just handing loaded weapons to people, right? I don't want to just sell a code program, right? I'm not trying to make, be a millionaire out of this. I just want a school that we can teach and learn codes and dig deeper into these different texts that we want to look at and um, and do it as a group. That's kind of what I'm looking at. There may come a point where we can offer it, but we have to have some things worked out with lawyers, like I was saying before class. The copywriting and stuff. All the stuff that we use may be copyrighted. We have to pay a copyright for it, right? Some of the texts are owned by people or organizations or institutions and stuff. Even the fonts, I found out that you have to be careful what kind of font you use because there are some that are patented. Did you guys know that? There are certain fonts. Well, I told you there was a thing with a couple of YouTubers that we know over font. Um, and it almost went to a legal, somebody being sued over it. So there's a lot of things that have to be considered. I can't just jump out there, even though we have the uh, the assistance of some technology using AI to assist us in this. I still have to be careful with, you know, legal things. Was that all? Was that the full of your question?
How much is the estimate of the cost to do this? to make the program.
Well, you guys, I don't know if I should tell everybody. It's
Then don't
yeah.
tell anyone.
Yeah, I don't know if I should put that out. Because I don't know if it's low or if it's high. I just got a quote from these guys based on man hours and then what I wanted to do with, servers and things like that. And I got a price on that. So, and I've known these. I've one of them is he was married to my sister, so I've known him. I trust him. He's former military. He's actually retired from the military, but while he was in there, he was a programmer, and he worked for, I don't know if I should, he worked for a major contractor for the United States, Lockheed Martin, yeah, as a coder there.
Yeah,
So,
you don't need to
yeah.
say anything more. You don't need to say
So
anything
he's very
more.
qualified, and I trust him.
Yeah,
He knows,
I'm sorry.
and the other thing is he's very interested. He's part of this class. As a matter of fact, I've had him in the school. He just hasn't been active in. He has a strong interest in codes and what I do, and so he's been a really good friend and a brother to me for probably 25 years, yeah, or more. So I finally have him. I've talked about this with him before of doing this, and he he wanted to, but he travels all the time, and he used to work a lot as a contractor, but now he's busy doing his own thing. He's got his own company now, and he's actually starting online businesses and stuff like that. He's very smart. You guys should talk to him. He's over in Discord. I don't know if he comments. I've seen him once or twice comment and stuff, but he's there. Anyway, he'll probably see this too. So we got that to look forward to. So I'm praying about that and asking Yana to give me ideas on how to get this done. Because it's an added thing. For me, just to make it month to month is one thing, but to have something like this on top of that, it's like an impossible mountain that I cannot do without Yah. If it's His will that we're going to get this done, and I believe it is, I really do, and I've seen Him do amazing things, impossible things, and I got faith that He will continue to do that. So, yeah.
Did you think about writing a book? Writing another book?
Yeah, I have. I've actually talked about that in one of the classes. I've had a couple of ideas. One of them I'm taking notes on now, and that one's called "The Secret of the Wheat and the New Wine." And then there's another one on some concepts of Bible code stuff that I've been getting. Y'all's inspiring me all the time and giving me ideas all the time. I see potential in a business here and there, and I'll take some notes. One time I was standing, I'm not even kidding. I was standing at one of my friends and looking off her balcony, and there's a building being built right across the street, and it's a construction site. And I saw these food trucks that were kind of parked there, just a little van with the side thing pops up, and a guy will pull up and he'll have like breakfast burritos and biscuits and stuff like that in the morning. And it'd be hundreds of guys that are working in this big high rise that they're building. They all stop and get breakfast. And then that same guy comes back at lunchtime. And he's not the only one. There's another one that's they're like competing to do it because there's so much business in that one block from construction guys. And I thought to myself, that's a pretty good idea. Bring lunch and breakfast to these guys because it probably takes a lot of time to leave the site, go through traffic, go get lunch. Yeah, some bring lunch with them, but all the guys that want to go somewhere or tired of eating peanut butter jelly sandwiches, right? They smell that biscuit down there. I thought to myself, man. So I am constantly seeing things like that and saying, that's a good thing to do. Um, I've probably got 10 ideas written down, things I want to do. I'd love to homestead again and get my own place and just load it with bees and some animals and make my own milk and cheese and stuff. And yeah, but can only do what we can do, right? Anyway, let me show you what I mentioned this code. I just found this today because I told you I happened to be flipping through my feed, and I saw this meme talking about the rise of the machines, or the AI stuff. So I do have some AI codes, and this is another one. Rise of the machines is the access term. Right off the bat, I did find robot. Nephilim is in here, and robot again over there. So like I said, all code starts somewhere. So when you come to class, I don't have anything. I just started it. Yeah, but you know it's somewhere. It's somewhere at this point. It's not finished. Probably has a long way to go. But it's still something we can share, right? So it is there. It's only encoded one time. And let's see, the top of it starts in right at Zechariah there. Let's see where we are up here. That's Isaiah, Jeremiah. So the prophets, we're in the prophets, deep in the prophets. That's Zechariah at the top, Nahum. We're into Psalms by that point. Psalms. Yeah. Job, Ecclesiastes, Esther, Ezra, Nehemiah. So it's way low down in the text. Still a lot to go on here. Let's look for a word. Let's look for a computer. I just thought of that as I'm sitting here. Mem het shin bet. Right. Is that right? Mem het shin bet? I think so.
Yeah, that's right.
Look at there. Computer there a lot of times in the plain text, a couple of times there. So what I like to do is I eliminate a lot of that, those echoes there, because some of them are just, I believe, parts of other matrices. So that's why you hear the rabbi always talk about closest proximity, smallest skip, because there are times where you have multiple hits. There's sometimes where you have no hits at all. There's sometimes where you got one hit. There's sometimes where you got one hit in the plain text, one hit that's an ELS. Sometimes they're even connected, sharing a letter, which is really weird when you see that. Like I've had a Nephilim code one time where Nephilim was in the plain text, and then Nephilim ran as a ELS term sharing a letter with it, and it appeared only twice, and the two times it did was in the plain text and as an ELS. That's kind of cool to see whenever that happens, something like that. So there's definitely, I think, like a ripple effect with these other anomalies that come through that are probably related to other codes that has something to do with computers. So I eliminate a lot of those, and I come down and try to get, see where they are in the matrix, in proximity, and see if we're going to keep any. All right. That one down there. Probably won't keep that one up at the top there. That's 60. And so you kind of dress your tables a little bit. We'll keep those there. So closest proximity and the smallest skips is what I just kept. That's what it looks like. Closest proximity, smallest skip. I also want to go in and change that color too. And the other thing about this program is after so many terms, it's the same color, and you have to manually change it, which is kind of tedious. And hopefully we won't have to do that with new software, right? It'll be a lot easier. So right off the bat, we got some obvious ELS terms that you would search for something like this. Other terms would be like quantum, right? We just looked for computer, we found quantum. We look for quantum. Computer and robot, look at it making a 7 there. But also Nephilim and this robot here, that's in the same skip pattern. Means one's dividable, divided, these numbering can be divided between, you see what I'm saying? They're at the same angle, and one's, in other words, that this would fit together like a zipper if we brought that over. You know what I mean? If they were able to come over, that means they're in the same skip pattern, divisible by 1. I can't see your chat.
I said, I wonder if you'll end up getting some sort of an animal or a beast from it if you shift it just a little bit.
Right. Well, I don't know. So, and before I forget, is you always, after you get a little bit of progress, save your work. Because if my computer's dropped out right now or something happened, I would lose that. Anything that I didn't save already would be gone. So do that quite frequently when you're searching codes, because what you'll find out is if you're doing it for a long time and then something happens, right? You didn't save it, all that was for nothing, and you'll get really frustrated and mad. And ask me now how I know that. Because it happens, and it happens at the worst times too, you guys, when you're really working on something and you put a lot of time on it, it's very important, and then you lose it, and then you have to go back and try to reconstruct it. That is really frustrating. So that's what I got on the rise of the machine so far, and I'll be working on that as I get time for it. You guys, I know I've been spending a lot of time trying to teach this calendar and showing how the agriculture is actually preserved some of these truths, and y'all designed it that way because man was going to screw it up, and that needs to be sorted out because I see circular reasoning going on all over the place, and one in particular that frustrates me is this lady that's in the land. And just because she's in the land, she goes out and looks for barley and the abib and stuff like that. But one thing I've noticed about what she does is she has a particular thing that she believes, and then she goes and tries to prove that thing and ignore all the other evidence, and also have to bend things a little bit. So, like if we're talking about grains that are cultivated, that we're talking about farming. We're not talking about what's growing wild. Yes, Leanna, I see your hand. Has your hand been up long?
Yes, but I was waiting until you were done saying what you're saying. I just wanted you to know I have a question that's a kind of related, but not exactly.
Okay.
Is it true? Is it true that if you don't get Passover the first month of the first year and the new moon, if you don't get that right, you mess up the whole year, don't you?
Yes, the whole year's
I
messed
mean,
up.
isn't
That's
that's
right.
what I thought. Okay, thank you.
Now, in the temple time, that was all done by the priest. And then that information was passed down to everybody else. After the destruction of the temple, rabbis started doing it in their communities where they had been scattered and they were off. They were all over the place. We have found evidence. If you've seen some of the videos I've put out here recently, where I've talked to my rabbi friends and stuff, and going back into the Talmud and looking at where they kind of went off on the wheat. That was 200 years after destruction of the temple, and that was because they had lost the understanding of it. First of all, they're trying to interpret what the scrolls are saying, and then they have to also have a working knowledge about the grain. See, the priest took care of all of that. The priest was the one that had the working knowledge of the grain and certified the grain, and he was the one that had the scrolls that he saw what the law said. So imagine that. Now after the destruction of the temple, and when we're finally getting over the trauma, and we're going to try to keep the feasts again, right? Because you think they were keeping the feasts in 71 and 72, 73 when they're fighting for their lives and they're hiding at Masada, and they're being 96,000 of them were being scattered all over the Roman Empire from here to the kingdom come, right? They were not going back to Jerusalem for a long time. And when they finally started to with Rabbi Akiva, and this was many years, first thing he did was weep. He wept when he saw, when they started going back to Jerusalem, he wept when he saw the ruins of the temple. Guess where they get Tish B'Av from? The rabbis made a thing because Rabbi Akiva wept. The rabbis later made a commemoration of that, and they call it Tish B'Av. It's the morning of the temple from 17th of Tammuz all the way to the 10th of Av. Okay, it's 3 weeks of mourning. The real Shavuot falls right in the middle of that, right in the middle. And so, if they see that Amos in Amos 8 told them that the father said, "You see this summer fruit, this basket," he is talking about the summer harvest. Okay, and he says there, go read what it says. It's got everything to do with the temple and the destruction there, right? All that's going to be wiped out. He said, I will no longer pass by. He's gone. Yah passed that over to the believers of Yeshua in the upper room. At the time of the Shavuot in the upper room, which was 9 o'clock in the morning, right? Because they're being accused of being drunk on new wine. The priest is waving the loaves in the temple, right? Just like when Yeshua was on the cross and they were sacrificing a lamb, the same time they were sacrificing the lamb, right? It was he was fulfilling it to the moment. What happened in the upper room was fulfilled to the moment of the wave. They were waving bread, baked bread, all right? So they've already harvested grain, made it into flour, you know, and they're not doing it early. Listen, what the rabbis started doing because they saw what 50 said, what it says about 50, right? The same problem we have today. It says in the Talmud that there were 5 different ways that rabbis had determined to count from Passover to Shavuot, meaning they were observing at least a handful of different ways of doing that, meaning Shabbats. And it could all be done with lunar solar, by the way. We have about 5 different ways on the lunar solar because we can't all agree to get to one point. All right, so I'm thinking the rabbis had the same problem when they're trying to figure this stuff out. Some people keep a new moon at full moon. Some people keep it when it really is new moon, right? Saturday wasn't around that. That's another 150 years later with Hillel II. So they were confused about Shavuot. We can see that in the Talmud. Jacob and I had a long conversation about that. But they made a ruling at some point, and they had different opinions on that. Some were cutting the barley and making bread out of barley, and it still remains today with some Sephardic Jews that they bake barley bread. And then you think, where did you get this from? Right? And you see what happened with the destruction of the temple, and the barley was the only thing available because the Romans had cut them off from the wheat, right? So all these things start to fall into place that become tradition later because there's no temple, right? Tish B'Av, Lag BaOmer, counting the Omer, all of that. All the rabbis say that counting the Omer came about for the memorial of the destruction of the temple. But it was also a count to Sinai, and it's a count up, not a count down, right? So they're starting from 0 and counting up. Why? Because they vision themselves, and this comes from Kabbalah, starting at the ocean, the sea, and going up to Sinai, and where they got the 10 Commandments, the oral 10 Commandments. And by the way, they do agree that 50 more days is where the tablets actually come down. That at 50 days, that's where he gives it orally. Well, at 50 days, the only grain that's ready to be harvested is the barley, because the barley comes up first. Remember in Exodus 9, the barley was smitten, but the wheat was not. That's because it was still in the ground. It was more advanced, right? Circular reason. I see this lady in Israel that's going around picking wild grains, wild, which is, and this stuff is what's called interseasonal growth, meaning that it's struggling to grow out of season. And so it looks really wiry and scraggly, and the heads on it are retarded. And I don't mean that in an intellectual way. I mean, Normally you'd have you know, a grain head that would look like that. And imagine it's very small, like the tip of your finger, right? That's what the grain head looks like. That is wild, and that is not fit for what we're doing with trying to keep Shavuot. This is grain that has become hybridized, and it's trying to fill in into the interseasonal stuff. So this stuff will be coming up wild in when it's not supposed to be. You know, wheat season or barley season. This is the stuff that comes up because it's been, you know, on the hillside, and every time it grows, it drops its seeds right there, and it comes right back up in the next year, right? So, but it grows interseasonally. She's going out there and calling a beeb, looking at wild barley, and then trying to say that you got barley germinating and wheat germinating at the same time. To me, that's circular reasoning. The Bible is very clear. We're not talking about wild grain, we're talking about cultivated grain. And we get a picture of that in Exodus 9, where the grain is. If you don't know what that looks like, you guys, I showed you, I had a picture. That I used it in a last class to illustrate this from Exodus 9. When we read that there, and the barley has been smitten, it's in the ear, it's getting up into the ear, right? Over here's where we're doing the wave sheaf offering when it's ripening, right? Where's the wheat at? The wheat is at this stage. It's just coming out of the ground. So obviously the barley is what is harvested 50 days later, not the wheat. See how the grain preserves the truth? So if you don't have a working knowledge of agriculture and you read what you read on the surface, circular reason will keep you going around in circles, even though the evidence is pointing you into the truth. Does that make sense, you guys? And this is why we have so many people on YouTube teaching all kinds of different ways, is because of circular reason. Same thing with the Zadok people. Circular reason. Their only source is the Book of Jubilees. They cannot prove that calendar from the Bible alone. They can't. It makes me so frustrated with them, is because that circular reason, they cannot break out of what Jubilee says. And there lies the problem. Incidentally, the Jews, there are some Jews that revere those books, Enoch and Jubilees. You know who they are? The Kabbalah Jews. The Kabbalah Jews. And they cite that book. As a matter of fact, I've seen a teaching from Ephraim Palanov here in Miami, who is a Hasidic Sephardic Jew, talking about Jubilees. And he talks about how it's a book, it's a mysticism book. It's not to be taken as 100% truth, but there's a lot of truth in there. He admits that, because it does contradict itself, which tells me that there was another author somewhere down the line that disagreed with the original one, and he changed some things in there, because you got two opposing opinions. And more importantly, it contradicts the Bible. And so I think it's bad hermeneutics to use Jubilees as a source. And when it's your only source, I'm done. I'm done at that point. And so circular reason, trapped in this circular, you know, it's a stronghold, you guys, spiritual stronghold, where people are following nonsense, but that it cannot follow you can present all the evidence, and it's solid evidence, and it's still, you know, A equals B because B equals A, right? That's what they do. No, I don't care what it says in Exodus. I can find germinating wheat and barley at the same time right now. Okay, so are we living in ancient times? No. You're not looking at cultivated, meaning planted on purpose to be purposely harvested, right? That's what we're talking about, wheat and barley, not what's growing wild on the side of the road on a hill somewhere, right? Just because you can don't mean you should. Does that make sense? So circular reason tells her, well, barley grows the same time wheat does. Yeah, the wild interseasonal stuff does. because it's gotten wild and it's not edible. It's good for animals, but you don't want to do a wave sheaf offering with that or make bread out of it and try to, think that that's going to be the first fruits offering. Y'all's going to, first fruits means the best. It doesn't mean what we can scrape up. Okay. Because what the rabbis come to in their ruling in the Talmud was, well, the wheat is not golden at the 50-day count. The only thing that is barley. And we've already done a first fruits of barley, right? So we interpret new grain because they also get hung up on the term new grain, and something it's the green grain of the wheat, and some say no, it's the golden grain of the barley, right? The ones that say it's the green grain of the wheat, they argue that well, in the wave sheaf, we're waving green sheaves. So we must be picking green wheat and drying it out and making the flour from it. No, the Torah does not tell you to do that. It doesn't. It tells you to count, which brings you to the correct place, which, oh my, wow, it's golden. No thinking involved at all. You harvest the golden grain. You don't have to go out there and force the grain to dry or roast it on a fire. That's another tradition that came about where they started taking wheat, green wheat, and roasting it on a fire, because with the barley, the offering that is given, because you're not baking bread with that, you take the kernels and you burn it in the fire. So is the flour. Everything is burned in a fire, right? That's different with Shavuot because you're baking you having a finished product, which is the bread. So there is a process in between harvest and bread, people. We don't get around that, okay? You don't go straight from the field with wheat bread. Everybody clear? So you have to process that, right? The count tells us where it is. Oh, by the way, it's golden. It's not green, right? So this is a problem for me when I'm talking to this rabbi, and he agreed with it. He was like, well, it seemed right to me. How much time have you studied agriculture and what first fruits means? Because that's not the best. You cannot get a good fine flour from grain that you picked 50 days early. So it's very immature. Okay. You won't listen. If you go out there and picked apples before they turn red, right? Let's say you pick them and they're still, many days late to go before it's ready to be picked, right? It's not ripe yet, but you're going to pick it anyway. And you go to bite that thing, it's not going to be pleasant and it's not going to be the best. You know what the best is in anything, whether it's tomatoes or grapes or anything that grows? Vine ripe or tree ripened. You want something that's ripened on the tree and ready to fall off. That is when it's at the best. And I'm telling you what, mangoes. You pick mangoes early when they're green, and you got to sit them on your counter for a couple of weeks and let them, turn yellow and all that kind of stuff. It's not going to be pleasant, and it's going to get fruit flies everywhere and stuff. But if you let that thing hang on a tree and you watch it and you pick it right there at that right time, it's the best mango you've ever had. It's the same with pineapples. If you ever get a pineapple at the grocery store and it's green, in Hawaii, they don't pick them until they're orange, until they're yellow, right? That's when we cut them. And that is the best pineapple in the world. Now, when you cut it green and then you have to force it because it's got to travel a long distance, right? And it's going to eventually ripen. It's never the same. I can't stand pineapples that are on the mainland that come from Dole. It's just not the same as a pineapple on an island or here in Miami, because you can grow them here too. That's bush ripened. It's hands down the best. So yeah, I don't agree with a rabbi that says you cut it early and you can dry it out. The Torah does not tell you to do that. It gives you a count. And if you do the count correctly, it puts you in golden wheat. And that is when it's the best. When it's golden, that's when you're going to get a premium product out of there. Okay. So, so that's why I say that the secret is definitely in the agriculture. It preserves it. I would have loved it if there were cell phones in ancient times and Moses had access to you know, to an iPhone. I want to share something with you. Hold on. I saw this today. So somebody put into asked AI to make a video of Moses doing a talking to an iPhone if he was able to have an iPhone in ancient times. And I thought this was kind of cool. So I want to share this with you before.
We just got here.
All right.
All right, guys.
Here you
We
go.
just got inside the palace. We're about to ask Pharaoh to let our people go. No idea how this is going to go, but wish us luck. Okay, we just left the meeting. We asked, he laughed, said no one's going anywhere. Anyway, the fight goes on. Pharaoh, if you're watching this, this is your last chance. Let the people go, or it's going to rain, hail, frogs, whatever.
Hashtag let my people go.
He let us go, then changed his mind. Now he's sending soldiers. We're literally running to the sea right now. We just got here, sea in front, army behind, no way out. Everyone's freaking out. Let's see what God tells us to do. Guys, the sea literally opened up. I'll explain later. We're walking through now. And no, this path isn't on Google Maps.
Didn't film the parting, was busy holding the staff. But yeah, it worked. The sea split. I'm exhausted.
So if Moses had a cell phone here, this other one was really cute too, I thought.
Date, we're in it. The Red Sea just split. She actually did it.
Yeah, everyone's freaking out. No trust, no chill.
Crossed the sea today. Now I'm just trying to find shade.
Now he's just trying to find shade.
Okay,
So we don't have the benefit of cell phone footage or the internet so we got to piece together things. And I like when I do the approach of trying to reconcile something from the Bible, I look at it like a forensic, analysis, right? Breaking down all the evidence, eliminating evidence that don't fit, because we're full of that, and things, things that are irrelevant, right? Like, for instance, when talking about grains, we're not talking about GMO grains, so we can eliminate that kind of thing out of the equation. We know exactly what kind of wheat we're talking about, emmer wheat, right? Sort of like murder investigation, right? When the police get to a crime scene and stuff, they're going to evaluate all the evidence that they can and put together and piece together all the puzzles so they can get a picture of what has happened, right? We got to do the same thing with the scriptures sometimes. And so it would be nice to have cell phone footage and, documents and all the pieces filled in. Some things are just obscured. Like, you'd wish that Yah had been a little more detailed in some of the things. But on the other hand, I can see how he would conceal some things. And furthermore, his word says that he loves to hide things. He hides things from us, and we're supposed to search it out. He actually says it's an honor to do so. So I think there was something special about that day. It was defiled with the calf, and then Yah destroyed both temples at that same time. Right. So there's obviously something going on for that timing. The Jews, I just think, have lost it. I think they lost the Holy Spirit, and they didn't have a temple anymore. And so they just started following rabbis and got really hung up in the Talmud. And I find quite frequently that a lot of Jews know more about the Talmud than they do their own Bible. Okay. And that kind of bothers me. It's sort of like what the Catholics like to say, you shouldn't read your Bible. The priest will tell you what it means. Well, it's the same thing in Judaism. They like you to listen to what a rabbi says about what it says in Genesis. So they'll go read it in the Talmud instead of reading it for themselves. And what they say is that the common man just doesn't have the ability to interpret. They need somebody to tell them what it means, right? And so most Jews follow a particular rabbi who has an answer. So, full of traditions, full of just no ruach, none there. And so I can't expect them to have it figured out in the Talmud, but I did expect them to admit where they had gone wrong. And so that was kind of my objective talking to my friend, is figure out where that was. And like I said, it didn't really go as I planned, because I didn't really have him prepared with my argument. He came prepared with what he knew about the Talmud, and he only had like 24 hours to prepare that. So anyway, he did say that I was right. I will say that he admitted I was right, but there was a but in there. But the rabbis made a ruling on it, and so there is a way that's been established from at least 200 years after the destruction of the temple that is now what they do. So, and oh, by the way, when the Messiah comes, the Jewish Messiah in Kabbalah, they say he's going to change all these things back, like the Tish B'Av thing, where they're weeping, where Shavuot really is. That's going to be reversed, and it's going to be a time of joy again. Okay, so reversing of it, right? Well, I don't see that anywhere in the Torah, but apparently they talk about it in the Talmud quite a lot. Anyway, you guys got any questions before I close out tonight? I appreciate you listening to me ramble there. Any questions? None? All right. I'm going to close this out here. Thank you, guys. That's right. Here a little, there a little, precept upon precept. That's right. And that's how we grow in this. And no, the recording's not off. You want me to stop it? You got something to say without the recording? Yeah, I can turn it off.